Now, in '78, you guys came with 3 Miles High. That album, to me, showed a definite like leap forward in sophistication for the group. I thought that, you know, the songwriting was stronger, and I think it's one of the group's best albums, and I felt real growth with that one. Do you agree with that assessment?
Yes, I do. With 3 Miles High, that was, you know, I listened to the music on that, and you're absolutely right. A lot of it, of the music that came along with the evolution of our change was the fact of when we went on the road. The road has started to influence us too, and so when we went out on the road, what we were doing, we would get together, especially during a rehearsal, and that made us brought us together more tighter as a group. Because you know, when you're out there on the road, there are no you know, things that take your attention away from you. All this, you have no choice but to be right there with each other. So that's how we ended up, like we were rehearsing and just hanging with each other and pointing out this and pointing out that, and become more or less logistically involved in, you know, and on what's going to happen here with the music. So yes, I can, you know, especially I hear a couple of the songs, especially with 3 Miles High, you know, that in itself was and another vocal, you know, challenge.
Yeah. That record had Sky High, which was a single, and also Just Want to Make a Dream Come True.
Right.
How'd you come up with that title, The Mass in F minor? Was that another working title?
Yeah, that one, it was really, I'm thinking that, see, now that was going back to like, okay, we got to give homage, man. We are really school musicians. That's where our home is, our base. So the fact of that, we're going to do this, and Tyrone named that one. Tyrone named the Mask in F minor. I just did it, and the next thing you know, it was there, and it was what we're going to call it. Tyrone said Mask in F minor, because what key is it in? He asked what key was it in. It was in F minor. That's it. Mask in F minor. Next, you know, and that's how it happened.
It's like a classical movement.
Yeah, you know, it really was, because we didn't know, we just wanted to play, and whatever anybody said in the studio, we were challenging each other. You know, we weren't doing anything like that. If somebody said, it's kind of like in the military when they say, what's the name of this mission is going to be? It's going to be Operation What Up? We say, okay, let's go. That's the operation. What up? We going, you know? So that's how we were.
That turned out to be one of the group's more successful hits. It got top 50 on the R&B chart. And, you know, I don't know whether it was conscious or not. I'm assuming not. I mean, when I bring up these influences, I'm assuming that it's just, you know, you can't help it. Everyone was sharing some ideas back then. But I hear a little Earth, Wind, and Fire flavor, especially in the vocal on that one.
Because we recognize the fact that if we were going to sing and if we were going to do this, we had a bar. You know, we had a benchmark that was set. We couldn't just say, okay, well, let's just sing and do it. It was a benchmark that was set by them, and so forth, that we made ourselves that, okay, if this is how we're going, if our thing is to be also a singing group as also musicians, we have to polish it up just as good as any other group that was doing it. And Earth, Wind, and Fire, like I said, has set that benchmark. So that's where we were really less reaching to go with this. Matter of fact, that's what Henry Allen always call us after that, I believe after the album, he started calling us a well-polished group. He really did. And every time we saw him, that's what he did. He would say, well-polished group.
Yeah.
But okay. Yeah, you know, benchmark, and, you know, we were, you know, we had no problems, you know, in doing the fact of, hey, this is what it is. Let's do it, but let's do it right.
I know it's also, Ricky, that the first two records were at Electric Ladyland Studios. This one was at Media Sound. So did that change of venue have an effect also?
wow, it's funny you should bring that up. When we first walked into Elect a Lady, when we did Welcome to Our World, you know, we got immediately, you walk in and you feel like a Jimi Hendrix thing, you know, and it was like so overpowering just to see that place because, you know, it's beautiful. And we walked in that Studio A. The thing of it is that I enjoyed the two sessions we had at Elect a Lady, which was Welcome to Our World and Believe. They both, the Elect a Lady Studios had that Neve board, had the Neve. And I really love the sound of the Neve board. And with that, it was kind of easier for me to get into that thing because the board was just beautiful. You know how important the board is. When we went to Media Sound, the Media Sound, they also had a Neve, I believe. But the thing of it is that the particular engineer we had, I believe his name was Doug, because I remember this Doug. We didn't get along at all. So, boy, was great. The room was beautiful. The sound of the room. Huh?
Doug Epstein. Yes.
Doug Epstein, yes. Doug and I were really not too keen on each other. You know, we really weren't. And, it was all because of the fact of where we were going then, you know, and he had a big problem with me, a gigantic problem with me.
Well, you fought through it and made a great record. You know,
that was my my objection of mine was to that. We had did Elect a Lady, and you go back to the producer thing. You know, I found out that us being produced, we used to supposed to be, there are a lot of things that going on in being produced, and we weren't being produced. And when we had did those two things, Elect a Lady, even though the sound was, I love the sound of the room, I didn't like a lot of the initial engineering, not engineering, but the producing of the, because the engineer is basically going to do what the producer tells him to do. But if the producer is not telling them what to do correctly, engineer is going to do what he's going to do. When we had gotten to a Media Sound, I said, this is not going to happen. I'm going to step in this. And I didn't want to, I don't care who toes I stepped on. I wanted this to happen. And Doug, in his infinite wisdom, say, no, you shouldn't do it that way. Well, it's gonna go this way today. And that's what happened on 3 Miles High.
Wow. I want to mention a couple of the other tracks on this record, Ricky. Scary Love is a real, like, in your face kind of track musically.
Yeah.
And Groove Me, with that prominent triangle, it's another funky track. I felt almost like it reminded me, or reminds me a little bit of BT Express with the triangle and the train kind of thing going on. But I like those cuts a lot. And I Don't Want to Know is a real dreamy ballad. Any comments about any of those other songs in that one?
Yeah, I could. Scary Love was exactly that. Scary Love was one of the last tracks that was added. I don't even think Scary Love was supposed to really go up there. But we had played the song, that was written by Kevin. Because I remember when Kevin wrote, we were talking to him about the song. And it was the last selection added to the LP. Now you bring up the matter of the triangle. Back until with us being high school musicians, we tried to bring every instrument in the world. And I did in the marching band. We had tried that we could get in. That's what we tried to bring into a recording. So if it, like I said, if it was more or less subliminal, or we've heard it and we knew that it could work, and we knew how to use it, let's put it in there. You know, that's how some of these instruments in there. But yeah, that's how they went. Scary Love, which we had did it. It became a what the heck song. But you know what? Let's go with it.
Well, you know what? I loved when the triangle was used because it would really help show off your, I think you mentioned earlier, hi-fi system, you know, back then.
Yeah, you know.
Check out those tweeters, man. Check out those tweeters.
If anything had to do with that, we were going with it.
The next record, in the purest form, in '79, this set you guys in a whole new level because you had a smash hit, your biggest hit ever on it. The first track, Firecracker, got to #4. And I mean, that song was just, you know, I grew up in Los Angeles. I don't know if I mentioned that before, but on the West Coast, I mean, it was huge. I mean, it was played constantly, and it was just always, you know, the party starter. So I hear there's an interesting story behind that track. What is it?
Oh, wow. The interesting story is that me or myself, I hadn't even written the track, but it was always this young lady I used to see flying past our home in Teaneck. And she would go back, and I just wanted to know who she was. You know, I didn't know her name, but she would just like, you know, wow, just amaze me. So when I wrote the song, that's why the song name is Sophia, because I did know the young lady's name. But eventually I wrote it, and it was about the woman that would eventually end up being my wife, you know, because of the fact that I was so mesmerized by her. But yet, you know, I had been on the road. You know, you're on the road, you meet women, and you get like, you don't get shy or anything. But with her, I was actually shy. I didn't know what to say, you know. And I wrote this song, and I said, hey, you know, never knowing that I'll ever even meet her. And eventually got the nerve up to talk to her and say, hey, I did the song, and say, sure, right, whatever. And yeah, she ended up.
So when did that happen in relation to when the song was actually recorded?
The song was released. We wrote this, I wrote the song, and then the song was released. I think it wasn't until maybe 6 months or a year later, you know, because of the fact that I had went on the road, and I had made the move. We got married, and that came, I believe, in '78, I believe, and we got married in '89. So, you know, it took me a while to get there, but eventually, you know, like I said, she would just end up being like someone that just knocked. She was a firecracker, and no doubt, still today she's a firecracker. She's a firecracker, yeah. But that's how that, you know, that was the whole story.
Very cool. How did you come up with that rhythm, or how was the rhythm generated, you know, that formed the basis of that track?
Scott, you're going to get so, you know, through with me, but the thing of it is that I was the section drum leader for I don't know how many years. And that was one of the cadences that we would always use in my high school band, you know, and the beat I had just had in me. Yeah, I made this cadence up, I think in my sophomore year in high school. I made that drum beat up, and it didn't come back to me until then. And when it came back to me, you know, as I was playing with it on my drums, the bass part came up, and from that, the lyrics. And the lyrics that really came, the lyrics of the song came first, because I thought about her. Then I thought, well, what I'm gonna do with this? And then it became, you know, and from that on, it became Firecracker. And I just put it all together. And the guy said, we going with it, let's go. And the song was done.
And you did the vocal too, which to me has that, you know, funky thang kind of style that I trace back to like Sugarfoot the Ohio Players and on through, you know, your Larry Blackmans and your Larry Dotsons and your Steve Arringtons. You know, it's got that great funk kind of thing to it.
Thank you. Yeah.
That flavor.
Thank you very much. That, you know, when I did it, when we did the song, none of us thought anything about it simply because this was my tribute to her. It was really an inside song. None of us thought anything about it. I didn't think anything about it. The group didn't think anything about it. But I was going to do the lyrics to this song because I was going to sing this song to her. And so they said, okay, Rick, you can do it, do the song, whatever, And that's how I ended up singing it, because really most of the songs really was led by Larry and Agnes, but this one was mine. But it was my song to the point where we're going to set it on this shelf because Ricky's crazy. Let her have the song. It's all right. That's what happened, I said, cool, that's all right. I'm happy to sing it.
You obviously felt strong about it, though, because it was the first track on the album. So were you surprised when it exploded like it did? And how did the band react to that?
Oh, wow. We were all surprised. Matter of fact, we were so surprised. We got highly educated about the whole music business when that song happened, because we really didn't know that the song had, took off like it did until one day we were about to go down to rehearsal, go down in our rehearsal studio. We all in the kitchen eating a snack. And I remember very well, we got a call from a DJ while we was all there. And he called us and said, hey guys, we asked him, how you get our number? He said, man, I tracked you guys down because I need to know about this song. What's going on with the song? And we thought he was talking about Fired Up, because that was the first thing. We didn't know he was talking about Firecracker. And he said Firecracker. He said, the thing about it is that that your record label stopped releasing your album. They warehoused your albums after that. And they're not doing any more promotional on your album soon as that song came out. And that threw us for a loop, because after that, not too long, another DJs kept calling us about the song. And we didn't have any influence on what the record company was doing, but they was telling us all over the country that the record company was warehousing the album. And we said, wow, we didn't do it at the point. So Firecracker in itself became a song really of most of the people, of DJs and the people, of the listeners, without the record company.
Wow. I would have thought that it actually went to #1 because that's how big it was that I recollect, but it did get top 5. And you mentioned Fired Up. That actually was on there also. Can't You See I'm Fired Up was on purest form as well. And that also charted the top 50. That actually was a single before Firecracker, right? Or not?
Before Firecracker? Yes, it did. You talking about Fired Up?
Yeah.
Yeah, it did. That is the one that we set up there at Atlantic Records and met about. That is the one that we had all the conferences about. It was all about Fired Up. So it was never any talk or discussion or whatever about, not to any of us, about Firecracker. Like I said, Firecracker was an afterthought. Firecracker was it is a Ricky emotional, whatever. That's what Firecracker was. Like I said, put that on the shelf. But it was all about Fired Up. And we were incredibly surprised about Firecracker.
So how did things change when you guys were doing your shows and you got to that song?
It was like, we did everything else, but when Firecracker came, it was, we really didn't have to do anything else. Matter of fact, I think we could have just went on Firecracker and went home, but it changed greatly. It changed greatly as far as when something like that happens, it easily picks, people ready to pick you up for tours. It became a gig, gigs became more often, but it still went on the fact that we got no support from our label, and it was all what our work or what we were initially doing out there that was making this happen. And it was all on DJs. Like I would say, you said that you was a DJ. So if you were DJs, in that era, it was you. You were the guys that made Firecracker happen. It wasn't a label. And with that's where we became the fact that DJs were our best friends at that point, because and the power of DJs. You know, we always knew they were powerful, but then right there, it bucked the system because we did not understand the warehousing thing. And when they started telling us that the world changed, like I said, gigs poured in more often. Our status, you know, it became, you know, elevated. It turned things around for us.
How'd you come up with the and produce the sound effects in the beginning of that song?
We hunted them down. Doug, that was done immediate sound, I believe. That was Doug, because Doug and I, we fought about that. We fought about the fact that of putting those in front. I wanted those firecrackers in there. And again, that was another point with Doug and I, Doug Epstein, I believe, and we fought on it. I mean, we fought horribly about Firecracker. Everybody left me alone about Firecracker, really. They left me onto my own devices about this song because like it was a Ricky emotional, you know, whatever. But I wanted the firecrackers. I wanted the drums to sound like this, like marching band drum. This is what I want. And I even heard the remark, well, Rick, you know, drums are not everything, you know. It's going to be everything for this song, you know. And that's you know, the firecrackers came in. He eventually went and got the sound effects. I don't know where he got them from, but he put them in there because he didn't want to hear anything more from me, because you know, I just wanted them.
Well, I hope you have your drums handy for a rim shot, because I was going to say it sounds like you had some explosive relationships.
Yeah, it was incredibly explosive. To a manager had to pull me to the side and say, you know, you got to be a little bit more. And I said, no, I'm not, because this song and the song, a couple other songs out there, they were very important to me, and I wanted this sound to go just this particular way. That's what I want.
Well, I also got to point out my own personal second favorite track on that record, which was Eyeballing. That one really rocks and cooks also. Can you add anything interesting about that one?
Right. You know, Eyeballing was another song. Eyeballing was another song that was supposed to be, it was the last song picked for the Going album. We eventually go, because of the fact that Rick was doing a lot of writing. And the thing of it is, I had written a lot of songs, but I just felt like, you know, like, okay, you know, I can take some of my songs and I can move them around. So with that said, with me pulling out some of my songs, the way, you know, to give the guys some more, because they're writers too. That's when we eventually, that's how Eyeballing ended up being on the album.
I thought that should have been considered as a single also.
Eyeballing was one of, you know, we got a lot of requests for Eyeballing. We got some too for Fired Up too, and they came in equally. But the strange thing about it is that after Firecracker, they eventually did pull the album off the shelf. And I think I was told somewhere they were liquidating or something. It was like no more. And years later, we found out what was that, with the whole thing of why they did that. We didn't know it at the time what was going on, but we did eventually find out what happened. So the reason that no other singles came after that, why they didn't do it, it had turned into politics. We were very surprised. We thought Eyeballing was going to be pulled too. I think when we got in, we started jamming with it, we felt very strongly about Eyeballing.
The next record was Masterpiece, which was a clever play on the word mass and the spelling.
Yeah.
And that album, to me, was more mature and more soul-oriented than what had come before. What was transpiring with you guys then?
we were at that time, I would say coming off the road. I can think about going into the studio on each album when we were rehearsing. The road has sort of like evolved us. Each went on the road, it kind of like evolved us. We would go out, we would see some things happening, we would start writing, and you know, when you're sitting on that bus in that airplane, you know, it gives you time to really dig in. And so that's where a lot of it came in. When we came back, again, Lee Cord named it Masterpiece. And we sort of wanted to dig in more or less being musicians because of the fact that we did not want to lose ourselves from being a musician. We had felt at this point they weren't going to give us the support they needed. We needed in order for to go to the next level. So we might as well just continue on being ourselves and just try to evolve ourselves musically, you know, and that's how Masterpiece became one of the albums that it was.
It was especially unusual that it starts off with a slow track in Angel, or a mellow song. You did have 2 singles on there that charted, Forever, which is kind of a fast poppy soul kind of song.
Right.
And Shantae, which is a really nice funky instrumental with great keyboards. What do you remember about those songs?
Yes, I remember very well. Shantae. Shantae was Tyrone had loved to play. He loved to play vibes, and he wanted, going back to school, he wanted the reason to play vibes. You know, no matter what we said, he said the next song that we recorded, the instrument, he was going to play vibes. So that's what he did. You know, we went to pull the vibes out, and Shantae was born. That song was named after his daughter. Angel, which Gregory wrote, Gregory and Otis wrote, that song was written about Gregory's wife, you know, Angel. Before he had first saw her, that's what he looked at, he ended up writing Angel, you know. And so that's how all the songs that kind of like evolved from that. We were more or less like, we just wanted to expand ourselves. But remembering that, we remember like getting those vibes. We looked all around, even trying to pick out the right kind of vibes that he wanted to play. And that's what the thing with Shantae.
You got his Roy Ayers on that one.
Yeah, yes. Did we? Yeah, okay. Thank you. Like I said, we always went back, no matter what. It always ended up back at school.
It's funny, you know, what it was like in the ether back then, because it was a year or 2 before, I know, the Ohio Players Angel album came out, and they started that song with a mellow song called Angel also. And then I was thinking about Eyeballing, and I think Heatwave around close to that time had a song called Eyeballing. So it's just funny how these threads are in the ether back then. Nature Lover. To me, that was sort of like a Firecracker follow-up. Was that the intent?
Yeah, Nature Lover. Nature Lover, when I wrote Nature Lover, that was something that just came out of nowhere. I can give you a great story behind Nature Lover. Nature Lover was a song that I wrote. It was just something that I was experiencing at the moment. I wrote the lyrics, I did the music, and it just came out. We were very fortunate. For some reason, they let us do the music that we were doing, but that was a song. That's what I felt. I never looked at it as a Firecracker follow-up. Okay, I tell you this. They wanted me to sing again. I did not want to sing again. I did not want to sing again. And they wanted me to do something where I sung again. And that's where Nature Lover came from. Okay, you want me to do it again? Here we go.
Well, you know, I got to tell you, I'm a little surprised that one too. I think it might have had legs as a single, you know? Think of you in this. It's nice to think of it as of that, but you know, like I said, at that moment, due to politics, it was all on us.
if we couldn't get it out as a single, it wasn't going, because of the fact of that, things that were happening behind the scenes, things like publishing, publishing became a very serious issue at that point with them, and they wanted it. And our publisher was not giving it to them. So at that moment, it became like, well, if we're not getting parts of the publishing, then we're not going to, we'll show you what kind of power we have. And they demonstrated it well.
Were you kind of starting to feel a little disillusioned about the whole music industry at that point? I mean, you came into it, with such vigor and such enthusiasm. And it was, we talked about, we only made $80 at that one gig, but it didn't matter. Did you feel like the industry was kind of, taking the luster off of it at that point?
Not at that point, really honest with you, because of the fact that we were still playing and we still hadn't gotten the word. We didn't really get to find out what was going on until our last album. But at that point, no, we were doing the music, and it did kind of hurt with the fact that we had, we were doing these songs, and it kind of made like, okay, but we weren't doing the best that we could do because of the fact that why aren't they, no one's playing on the radio? Why we aren't getting in, in the kind of response from anything? Well, it was pointed out to you, nobody can respond to you or talk to you about your music if they're not hearing it, And I said, okay. So with that said, we just went on and just kept going on, at least for myself. I don't know, I can't speak on much for the other guys on that. But for myself, I was just, I was playing, and to me, it was always a tomorrow. It was always tomorrow. It may not be happening today, but let's see what I can do tomorrow.
Well, the next tomorrow for the group in '81 was Turn Up the Music, which to me was more of a return to funk, whereas there was a little bit of diversion into more soul. You guys came back hard with the funk on Turn Up the Music, but also there was a change in the sound. And part of what was going on at the time in the early '80s, you guys incorporated more synthesizer, I would say, and kind of seemed to track it with the horns in places. So, Turn Up the Music, the title track, was a really cool dance jam. What went into making that record, Ricky?
Turn Up the Music, right. We were at Atlantic, and in New York, there's a instrument rental company called SRR. Now, SRR, there were a couple of representatives. These guys were at studio, and literally there was another studio instrument rental company that were just trying to sell us to rent these synthesizers. I remember very well. It was the Prophet and the another Korg synthesizer. I'm trying to think of it, but it was Prophet 5, which is very popular. And we said, okay, so we rented these synthesizers, and that's where a lot of the sound of that became, because of the fact of that. They wanted, it's going to be the greatest. And then also at that time, I believe that Prince had been out doing, Prince was doing a lot of things with Prophet 5. And so when it came, it was easy to sell, but there they were in the lobby, we went to the studio, there they were sitting in these things, and they brought them over in the truckload. I mean, all kind of Korgs and everything. Korg wasn't as popular then. So that's how we ended up getting a lot of the synthesizers for labor. So these guys that say, hey man, this is the thing of what's happening, and this is what's going on. You need to, so we played with it, and we liked it. To be honest with you, we liked it. It was cool, so that's where that went.
Yeah, you mentioned Prince, especially on a track like Clinch Quencher, which is
right.
Funky. I hear the same kind of thing at the time that not only Prince, but like Cameo and the Barcades were doing with the synthesizers.
Right, yes. Yeah. And that's where the thing of it is, okay, well, okay, this is what's happening, this is what's happening, this is what's going on. And the salesman, they were like, you guys, we said, okay, well, look, you don't have to sell us too hard. It seemed to be popular and you're pushing it. Let's give it a try. So that's how the evolution of us getting into it, doing a lot of the synthesizer, that particular album.
It seemed like also on that record, there was less of the falsetto vocals, was another different element to me on that record. I don't know if that was an intentional thing, but besides Turn Up the Music, I really like Bop, really catchy, bouncy instrumental.
Right, okay.
Saucy was another kind of Firecracker type track.
Right, okay, yeah. No, I was being pushed a lot, and which I did not want to, I just didn't want to do it. But when we came together as a group and the guys said, let's do something, it wasn't more or less like, oh man, I would argue about it. You want me to do it? Okay, I'll do it. I'm not happy about it, but okay, let's go, and do it. And I just put my best into doing it, Bop was Tyrone's. Again, he loved naming the songs after relatives. That's one of our nieces. And that song right there, again, an influence going to him back to playing in the jazz band in college. And we couldn't get away from that. It was just in our day.
Did you feel like, you're talking about not getting support, did you feel like a track like Turn Up the Music, which was, had a real good, like, kind of percolating funk groove to it, that it should have been a bigger hit than it was?
Yes. At that moment, still at that point, when the albums came out, we didn't realize what was happening behind the scenes. We were more or less like, we were just musicians trying to do our thing musically. And it kind of like, it was disappointing, especially when we went out on the road, because at that point, we was also getting educated to the fact that radio play is essential. When you don't have radio play, you can't get a big of a venue of places to play. So it was starting to like come back on us on the fact of like, okay, what's going on here? We don't understand, we wouldn't understand what was happening. And so yeah, it did start to like, make us wonder what was going on at that point. And it was basically a couple of the songs that went down like that started made us, go scratch our heads.
Kind of a departure too for you guys was another single there, I Can't Believe You're Going Away, which was kind of a real Motown throwback kind of vibe.
Which one?
I Can't Believe You're Going Away was kind of a Motown.
Wow. Oh, I remember that one was an intentional write, but I wrote that one. I remember writing that. To be honest with you, I can remember sitting in the dark writing that song. I was just happy about doing it. The rhythm came to me. I could not shake that rhythm. Don, 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 don. And it kept going over in my head. And when I told Lico about it and we finally put it together, everybody said, okay, that's it. Because it was different than what we was, doing. And it was a song we were playing. It wasn't like we were trying to like meet at that point. We weren't trying to meet anybody's, okay, they're giving the go mark. We was like writing for ourselves. And that particular song was a personal song for me. The lyrics anything didn't mean anything to me personally. I wrote the lyrics because of the fact that I felt that it went with the song, but the music itself was important to me.
In the City Groove came next in '82, and this record was mellower, I would say, more R&B flavored than what you guys have been doing, and also some interesting experiments on it. You had you had like a new wave kind of track in Weird, and I think it was the next one where you had a reggae. Yeah, it was the next one. But you guys seem to be doing more experimentation and it was a little more laid back, if you will.
Yeah, because of the fact that became those songs right there were songs that were composed again. They just wanted to do something. When you talk about time bomb, my brother and Larry, when they wrote that song, they were really thinking about what was going on at the time. So that was a sign of the time song, and we were more or less like just writing and a lot of other things that was going on in the background as far as like what we was doing. Real life had taken over, and they were puffing a lot of weed, man. We just stepped into it, and at that point we was like, oh, hey, okay, we in the studio, it's like, all right. And now in one session we have some guy pushing synthesizers on it. Now the next one, it was like, oh, where's it coming from? We in New York, it was like cats from everywhere. Everybody had a bag, everybody had sharing it, what was in the bag. So that's where a lot of some of those songs came from. But like I said, most of it came from like musicians that just at that point, it didn't seem like, we were just given a free hand to write what we wanted to write. So let's go with it. And I wanted to, the guys had a lot of songs that was inside of them too. They had a lot of songs inside of them. So let's put them on the assembly line and push them out.
I felt like, again, whether it's intentional or not, but I felt like there was some, maybe through osmosis, influence of Slave on this one, like on a song like Inner City, it's reminded me a little bit of some of the Slave kind of stuff. And my favorite track on the record, probably being a funk enthusiast like I am, was Rock.
Rock. Again, another song that was put on the song album last. It's strange, like some of the songs that you're mentioning were songs that were at the last of the moment the group decided to put on, simply because of the fact, we listened to them and say those are good songs. We want them on the album. So we took some things off that song on, but Rock was also a song that was intended. We recorded it because we recorded a lot of music, but it wasn't intentional at first to be on the album. It wasn't intended to be on the album.
Well, I'm glad they made it. I mean, if I had been there, I would have been like, hell yes.
But see, we needed more. That's what we needed at the time. We needed more DJ influence other than executive influence, because that's what, it was more or less like dictating in our ear, that little voice in the ear talking, and say, okay, leave the suits over there. But the suits were like chattering. But we needed you. We needed the DJs. Man. Needed that voice, Scott.
I mentioned Weird, which is like this new wave funk thing. That was another thing that was kind of in the air then, with like Super Freak and Alligator Woman and Whammy by One Way and Freaky Behavior by the Barkays. You guys had yours with Weird.
Weird was a joke. What I mean by that, we were doing Weird, we were playing the song Weird, but the thing about it is that it started off as when we were rehearsing, you're doing something, Kevin brought it up, and we doing it, and it's like, you're so weird, baby, you're so weird. It was we were talking about a lot of the women that were around us, especially on the road. Initially it started out being a joke, and then when you play something more and more, and he formulated and got it together, and said, wow, okay, that's album ready.
Now, at this point, you had turned drums over to Sam, or what was happening there?
Huh?
I said, at this point, had you turned the drums over to Sam?
Oh, yeah. Well, I didn't turn it over to him because of the fact that on February 14th, we were going into what happened in 81. I was in a car accident that I ended up being in the hospital for like 24 days.
Wow.
And my arm, my foot, everything a drummer needs in order for her to play drums got shattered and messed up. And that's what happened. And when I knew my brother had played drums, and we wanted to keep it in the family. So my mother had called and said, that guy is driving me crazy. So my brother and I, we made a decision. Don't worry about it. We got a place for him. So we pulled him up from Virginia like we did everybody else. The next thing you know, he ended up on the road with us.
And how long did it take you to fully recover?
That went, it was about, I think, a year and a half. If I got myself together. Like I said, it shattered my forearm, my pelvis, cracked my pelvis, my shoulder, my foot, like a lot of things. My right leg, it was pretty bad.
Wow.
I'd had 2 surgeries on my arm, so I wasn't in any position at that moment to play drums. And the whole thing about it is the guy known as Rick with the drumsticks kind of like moved the drumsticks. Boom, they kind of like fell out of my hands, you know?
That must have been hard to deal with.
Yeah, and then, but, you know, I said, okay, but they pushed me on this, you know, next thing I know, I found myself in front of a microphone and, hey.
One other track I want to mention on that record, because I thought it was really well done, was Solid Love. It was kind of a different thing, kind of soulful pop for mass production, but you guys did a good job on it.
Wow, you know, being in the city was a whole trip for us. When we were recording in the city, we had Jingus who had did the strings for us. It was very important, you know, as far as like in helping us getting those songs together. We didn't do the vocals. The vocals at that point was done by a gentleman by the name of Dean Williams. And the reason he had Dean had ended up doing the vocals was because of the fact that, number one, I was still in the transition of going through what I was going through, and they had, and the record company had then was trying to find their way to write, sort of, let's take over the our music. So he came in. And Jingus, who we love very much, we were very good friends with Jingus. He was supposed to have written more songs. He came in. So that was sort of like their way of wedging their way into getting more or less control of the group, because our contract was coming up soon. Mm-hmm. So now it's kind of now to try to find a sort of like a logistical mover, getting in here, getting this group before, you know, and that's what happened with Inner City. So we did things on that particular album. I don't know if you know, but we brought up Norfolk State University's concert band for a couple of those songs, you know, and they performed on it. So we tried to maintain some kind of control over it, but it was, you know, life was about to, like, you know, show us who was really the boss in this thing.